name is Miranda and welcome to another video. And today will be my TBR video for this year's Magical Readathon, Aurelium the Novice Path Edition. So I have done, I can't remember how many Magical Readathon TBR videos I've done. I know there's one I recorded that I never uploaded because it was in the middle of the pandemic and I just never finished editing the video. But I believe I have posted 2 videos for TBRs for the Magical Readathon before. This year the Magical Readathon has been completely revamped. It is now its own thing, and it is, the way I described it to a friend of mine is it's kind of like Magical Readathon D&D edition. So this year you will be reading books to follow not quite follow, but to get through the path to eventually make it to the magical school of the Academy of Aurelium, I believe is what it's called. Oh, I'm already forgetting. And then you'll also be able to read some books from now until April to help choose your character for when the readathon picks up again. But right now it is just the part of the readathon for the novice path, which are, you have to read at least 2 books in order to pass through this path, but there are 7 prompts. It's up to you how many you choose to read. Right, I already know that my explanation is probably not going to be the best, so I'm going to leave the link to the announcement video down below for you, and that will also have all the resources for you, including the different prompts, the maps, the character sheet for the prompts you need to read to create your character, all that. I'm pretty excited for this. I think it's really cool. I saw the announcement board and read through the documents, and I'm already trying to figure out which books I'm going to read to create my character, but I'm not going to do that until after I'm done with the books for the novice path. So as mentioned, you only really need to read 2 books for the novice path in order to complete it, but there are 7 prompts. I have chosen a book for each of them, but I don't really know how many I'm going to actually finish reading because I have still been in a bit of a slump when it comes to my reading, and I've just been reading really slow lately. But I thought I would share my TBR with you. I know this is going to be posted a little bit late because it's already September 3rd, so the Magical Readathon started about 2 days ago. But like I said, it's a little bit of a slow start for me this year. Alright, my handy notes. This is for Magical Readathon Aurelium, the Novice Path. And the first prompt is the Novice Path entrance, which is to read a book with a map. And for this I chose The Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the 2nd book in the David Bad trilogy. I read the 1st book at the beginning of this year, absolutely adored it. And I have been planning on reading the 2nd book for the last couple months now. This is from the Cardiff Library. I will be finishing it this month so that I can return it so more people can read it, and also because I really do want to read this book. I'm very excited for this book. The 1st book was phenomenal to me. So I can't really say exactly what this book is about because it will spoil some stuff that happens in the 1st book, but essentially the series follows a young girl who lives in Cairo in the 1800s, I think it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the 1800s. And she makes her living kind of as a scam artist, a fraudster, mostly scamming a lot of rich people, so that she can eventually make enough money to study medicine in Istanbul, Byzantium, Constantinople. I'm not entirely sure which, I'm pretty sure it goes by Istanbul at this point. Yeah, I don't actually remember. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Istanbul. One day, however, she accidentally summons a djinn, and he kind of takes one look at her and realizes she might not be all that she seems, and in fact might be a descendant of a very powerful djinn clan. He then takes her to the mythical city of the djinn, and that is where she now resides, trying to sort out exactly who she is and what her powers may be. That's all I'm going to say about the book, because I don't really want to give anything away about it, because it is phenomenal. Highly recommend if you haven't started it, and I am super excited for the sequel, and I will be reading it for this readathon. Alright, the 2nd prompt is the Ashtorn Tree, and for this you have to read a book that keeps tempting you or is at the top of your TBR. I kind of have 2 picks for this prompt, and it will kind of depend on how I'm feeling which one I decide to read, but one of them is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. Now this has kind of been on my TBR for quite a while, partially because I've had a friend from back in my undergraduate days who constantly recommended this to me, and I just never picked it up because, I don't know, I was a little unsure about it, but it did sound really interesting to me. I just never really found the time. But also because I do really want to watch the Amazon series, and I kind of want to read the book before I do it, but if I don't get to it, I'll probably watch the series anyway. I think most people know what this book is about because it's fairly well known, especially with the Amazon series, but essentially it follows an angel and a demon who go and look for the Antichrist in order to prevent Armageddon. Yeah, something like that. That's mostly what I know about this book. I don't really want to know much else because for me, that is enough of a description for me to pique my interest. I don't really know if I'll get to this month, although it is kind of one I'm really looking forward to reading, so hopefully. I mean, it does keep tempting me. The second book that I have picked for this prompt that I might read instead is Xoxo by Xeo. This book has been tempting me quite a bit as it is a YA contemporary about a young girl who is a musical prodigy. I can't remember the instrument even though I just looked it up, and she goes to South Korea, and at an elite school that she's at she meets someone who is both musically talented but is also part of a massive K-pop boy group. I'm a big fan of K-pop, I'm a big fan of K-dramas. I saw this book and thought, you know what, this sounds pretty interesting. I'd like to give it a try, so I'm very tempted by it. So I might end up reading this book instead as kind of a break from the majority fantasy that I have picked out for my TBR. The third prompt is The Mist of Solitude, which is to read a standalone book, and for that I chose Vasya in the Night by Sarah Porter. This book has been in my TBR for a very long time. I have it on my e-reader. I purchased a copy when I found it on sale. I don't remember exactly what the book is about, but I remember from reading it, it sounded kind of like it was a more modern retelling of a Russian folktale. And I believe the folktale was Beautiful Vasilisa. I could be wrong about this. Actually, let me have a quick look. Yeah, reading the description, it does definitely sound like that folktale, and I really, really like that folktale, so I really want to read this book. So I'm hoping to pick it up this month. It is on my e-reader, so it will be pretty easy for me to read it, and hopefully we'll see how it goes. Alright, so the fourth prompt is The Ruin of the Sky, and for this prompt you are to read a book that is featuring ghosts, haunted houses, or other supernatural elements. And for this prompt I chose Bonecryer's Dawn by Catherine Purdy, and this is the sequel to Bonecryer's Moon, which I read last year. I enjoyed that book. I thought it was really interesting. The ending was actually not quite what I expected. So I'm very excited for the sequel to see how the story wraps up. I think the sequel is the last book. I haven't actually checked, but I am excited for the sequel. I'm kind of hoping maybe it's the last book, so I don't really know how this series will do as a trilogy. So again, can't fully say what this book is about as it is a sequel, but Bonecryer's Moon followed two girls who were Bonecryers, who are essentially siren psychopomps. Psychopomps are people who collect souls. Yeah. And before anyone can become a full Bonecryer, they have to lure in and kill their one true love. One of the girls, it is her night to do this. She calls her true love, but instead of killing him, she is captured by him. And the man that captures her is someone whose father was called to by a Bonecryer in the past, so he has vowed vengeance on the Bonecryers to kill one of them in retribution for his father's murder. The second girl is the other girl's best friend, and she is trying desperately to save her friend who has been kidnapped by her true love that she was supposed to murder. I enjoyed the book last year. I'm looking forward to the sequel. I'm kind of interested to see how it ends considering how the first book ended. I was not expecting the ending that came. So hopefully this is one of the books I get to this month. Probably most likely I will, because this one I will be taking out of the online library, which means I will only have so long to actually borrow it. And usually books I end up borrowing from the online library take some priority, so that way I can actually read them before my loan period runs out. The fifth prompt is Obsidian Falls, and this is to read a thriller or mystery book. Now, I don't have any of these in my TBR to begin with, so I actually had to look, but I did find a book that I do believe falls under this category, and it is called The Binding by Bridget Collins. So this book is an alternate history sort of book, and in this, the world bookbinders, they are bookbinders who people visit in order to get rid of their painful memories. They have their memories bound into these books. The main character of this book is someone who goes to become an apprentice of one of these bookbinders, and he is initially told he is not to enter the room where these bound books are kept, but after a patron visits, he finds he's very curious and wishes to have a look at this inner room with all of these bound memory books. That is the best description I'm going to be able to give because I'm not entirely sure what this book is. I'm not even fully sure it is a thriller, to be entirely fair. But it is the closest I could find that was on my TBR because I don't tend to read many mystery or thrillers. If I happen to choose something else, I will add that in my wrap-up if I get to it, but for now this is my pick. Alright, so the sixth prompt is The Tower of Rumination, and for that you are to read a 5-star prediction book. And for that I chose The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Erin Morgenstern is the author of The Night Circus. This is her second book that she released about, I think it was like a year or so ago. I was very excited when I heard about this book because I adored The Night Circus. I remember I picked up that book from an airport bookstore many years ago, and I almost finished the book on the flight. And when I heard about what this book is about, I was even more excited because this book deals with magical libraries, falling into stories, labyrinths. And I do enjoy stories with magical libraries. It's just been quite a bit of a hit or miss for me. There's also these motifs on the side of like a key, a bee, and a sword. And I don't really know how, well, I think I might know where the sword connects. I don't really know why the bee is there, and I don't know much about the sword. But I'm very excited for this book. I am hoping it turns out to be 5 stars because, as I said, I have a bit of a hit and miss history with magical library books for me. But I'm very excited for this book. I will definitely be reading this in September for the Magical Readathon. Alright, and the final place on this Novice Path map is Aurelium Academy Arc. And for this, you have to read a book with a school setting. For this prompt, I chose Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I am actually a bit of a Naomi Novik fan because I adore her books Uprooted and Spinning Silver. So when I heard she was writing a dark academia book, I was pretty excited for it. And I do hope to get to it this month. It is probably, I don't know if it's the shortest book I'm reading this month. Actually, it might be. No, it's not. Now this book is about a magic school where very much the rules are you need to survive if you want to succeed. And the main character of this book is a sorceress with a very powerful dark magic that has the potential of effectively just ending everyone, and she must figure out how to survive and control this magic of hers. This is only the first book of the series. I don't know exactly how many books there are going to be. I haven't looked it up. But I am very excited for this book because, as I said, I am a big fan of her books Uprooted and Spinning Silver. They're 2 of my favorite books of all time. So I'm very excited for this book, and I really hope I love it just as much as her other works I've read. And there you have it. That is my TBR for this year's Magical Readathon, Aurelium Academy Novice Path Edition. As I said, I will leave a link to the original video down below, and that will have all the resources you need. That will explain the prompts, the map of all the places and what these places are, and also more information about how you can create your character for this readathon. I'm very much looking forward to that. I don't know when I'm going to start picking my books for that, but once I do, I'll definitely create a video for that as well. I am looking forward to this readathon this month. I don't know how many of them I will be getting to, but I do know there's a couple that are very high on my list that I really, really want to read, mainly The Starless Sea and Kingdom of Copper. Those are my top 2. Well, I do know I will be finishing at least 2 of them, which means I do manage to get through the Novice Path, which is probably the most I can hope for right now because, as I said, I've been in a bit of a reading slump and I've just been reading really slowly lately. But good luck to anyone who is joining in the Magical Readathon this year. Let me know what books you're reading, if any of them are the same as mine, if any of these caught your interest and you're thinking of maybe reading them. I'll also leave a link to the Twitter page for the Magical Readathon for anyone who is interested in following along. I don't really know if I'm going to follow a lot of what's going on the Twitter page because I constantly kind of forget to check it, even with my notifications turned on. But I'm very excited to participate in the readathon again this year, and I'm hoping I manage to finish more than 2 books. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos by me, bookish related, don't really know if there's going to be more travel related yet, but some more videos on my interest topics, just be sure to click that subscribe button down below. And I'll see you next time. Bye.